Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the community show. Like I always do, I give you a brief historical perspective or a background, if you may wish to call it, into our conversations. We know that many of us, of course, go to work, and therefore it's important that we build safe and healthy work environments at our places of work, because averagely, research has showed that majority of people spend a great percentage of their time of the day during work and spend very little at home and doing leisure activities. So that means that by all means, we have to work towards building a safe and healthy work environment for so many reasons, our mental health, among other very important issues. So today, the community show finds it very prudent to have a conversation around the need to build safe and healthy work environments at our workplaces. And to have this conversation, I'm joined by a panel of distinguished ladies and gentlemen, two of whom have already joined us, and we hope that the others can join us along the way. Let me just introduce them and ask them to just say one or two things about themselves. The first panelist is Madam Lwanga Hajara Deputy. She's the deputy head teacher at Exodus College School, Wakiso. Madam Hajara, you're most welcome, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you, Moses. Good morning once again. This is Lwanga Hajara. I'm a deputy head teacher, like you said, in Exodus College School, Wakiso. And I feel I can have a positive contribution towards this topic because I'm a worker. I spend most of my time at school. And indeed, I feel I can contribute something immense towards this topic in order to create a safe working environment for all workers.
All right, thank you very much, Madam Hajara. Whereas you only feel that you can make impact, we know that you can surely make a meaningful impact into this conversation. Thank you very much for joining us. The second panelist who has joined us is Amuko Prisca Flavia. Flavia, you're most welcome. Flavia is the detective assistant at Superintendent of Police. Flavia, you're most welcome, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you for this opportunity. As you stated, Detective Assistant Superintendent of Police, Amuko Prisca Flavia. I'm a police officer. So as you know, police stations or police generally is one of the biggest institutions that really needs a hand from the public. And we really accommodate a large number of people of the public who most times come depressed. Usually most of them are those who are depressed. And the fact that we attract a large population of the country, I believe being part of this panel would enable me contribute something in regard to the topic under discussion. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, our panelists who have joined us on time. Like I had mentioned earlier on, we expect more to join us, and when they do, I shall definitely introduce them and ask them to say hello to our viewers. But without further ado, let us begin straight away with the conversation. And I'll begin with you, with Hajara. Hajara, you are at a senior level at your workplace. You're a deputy head teacher. If I'm to use a word that many young people use, I would say you call the shots. You know, you take the decisions. You influence the policies. You influence how things run in the institutions. So my first question is to you: is that what is the situation? What is the head teacher and teacher relationship, or head teacher and cook relationship, or head teacher and sweeper relationship at your school? Do you care to build that personal relationship, or it's purely on contractual basis? I mean, you're here to teach, or you're here to sweep the school, just do that and leave, or you care to go beyond just the contractual establishments to create a personal relationship? So let's just begin from there. then we can shape the discussion moving forward. So, Madam Hajara, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Moses. Like you've said, of course, I'm in administration. I'm a deputy head teacher, and in his absence, I stand in as a deputy head teacher in Exodus College School, and in a school environment or working environment. We believe in a family. Actually, we call ourselves Exodus family. Whether I'm an administrator, whether I'm a teacher, we have teachers, that is the teaching staff, the non-teaching staff, which includes actually the support staff. We call them support staff, which include the cooks, include the matrons, the wardens, the cleaners, security or askaris. We all call ourselves a family because, like you see, an institution or an organization, whether I'm an administrator or the other one is a cook, we all contribute towards the success of all activities in school. If a cook does not prepare food in time, then I'll miss a lesson. If the warden has not supervised cleaning in the dormitories or the matron, we shall not have cleanliness in school. If the askari or the security operatives do not do their work in the right way, we shall not have security in school. So it goes beyond the contract. We call ourselves a family and a team. And therefore, the welfare of all the workers is a concern of the administration. It is a concern of all of us, or us all. Therefore, we do not stop at you've worked, you've earned, but we go beyond towards the welfare of all of us. Actually, we have circles. We always have regular meetings where we share our challenges, our problems, and even suggest a way forward. We even go ahead to have social gatherings, interactions, parties, we call them choke-offs, but we all do that as a family, not as teachers only, but all of us as workers. So it is beyond. As administrators, we don't look at workers just as workers, but we look at them as a family because this is a home away from their homes. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Madam Deputy Head Teacher. I will come back to you shortly. But for now, let's go to the Superintendent of Police. Miss Amuko Flavia, let me just pose to you the same question, okay? You are a superintendent in the police, so that is not really the lowest ranking office, at least as far as the hierarchy of the police is concerned. So meaning you supervise certain, officers. There are some officers under your supervision or below your rank. So the same question that I posed to Madam Head Teacher, I'll ask you as well. Do you care to build a relationship with your subordinates or with your seniors, or you're there simply to, implement, and enforce law and order, and once you achieve that, you just march out of the police station and you don't care to even, build a personal relationship with your colleagues? So, Madam Amuko, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Yeah, I would like to also clarify this. As an assistant superintendent of police, you are at a level of supervision, you are at a command level, and in fact, with such a position, you head a station, there is a unit that you head in the force. So at such a position, I have people that I supervise, and in so supervising them, you need to build a relationship. One, because it is the subordinates that do the work. They are the ones who bring those results that you see that are heard of. It is mainly done by the ranks that are lower. So there is really with such a hierarchy, it means that you as the supervisor, to get the good results, you have to be a hands-on officer. You have to supervise your workers, and remember, you have to also take note of their welfare, because aggrieved personnel will not produce well, will not deliver well to the public. And in terms of like safety, issues of health, you have to bring them on board, because you as the supervisor, you are not the one to do this yourself as physically. So you really have to build a relationship with them. And in stations that I've been heading, that has been my role, because any let me say, any fault by your subordinate, also you the supervisor, you are held accountable. So before you are held accountable, you have to ensure that you have built that relationship with your personnel. And there's a way these personnels of ours, when they see you lower yourself to them, you advise them. When they're in wrong, you correct them. When they are aggrieved, because you know these are people who have families, they could be having their challenges in their homes, they could be having maybe problems with their children and so on, but they have to be at work. So as a supervisor, it is really my responsibility, and it has always been my responsibility, to ensure that my subordinates are as close as possible to me, especially for the good of the work that we have. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Flavia and Hajara, for those very elaborate submissions. I can see Comrade Abraham Muganzi has joined us. Abraham, let's just test your microphone. Are you there with us? If you are, just say hello to our viewers and introduce yourself so that I can further put you a question. Mr. Abraham Muganzi, I can see you've logged in and you've joined us. So could you kindly unmute your microphone? Yes. Now unmute your video as well. How are you?
My name is Muganzi.
For now, let me get back to Hajara. Madam Hajara, hope you're still with us. And my follow-up question to you is that I know for sure that schools have policies. You know, you have policies that are established, and policies that guide, you know, how someone is supposed to work and their duties and responsibilities. But the issue to me that I've come across is that more often than not, the supervisors and the senior officers don't care to elaborately explain to these subordinates their roles and responsibilities. And therefore, at times when these junior staff, or in this case, the teachers or the support staff make a mistake, at times it's because they don't understand and they don't know their roles and responsibilities. So my question precisely to you is that does your school, Exodus, care to elaborately explain to these staff their roles and responsibilities, so that when they make a mistake, really, they are liable, and not because they don't know what their roles and responsibilities are, but because maybe it's a personal fault, or you don't care so much to really tell them about their responsibilities, and therefore at times they end up making mistakes subconsciously, and then they end up facing the very harsh punishment of, at times, maybe suspension, or even in the worst case, losing their jobs. So just speak to the aspect of educating your subordinates about their roles and responsibilities.
Thank you so much, Moses. Can you hear me?
Yes, perfect and clear. Continue.
Yes. In regard to staff roles and responsibilities, in the first place, when you join us, or the policy of the school, when the teacher is given a job, they are supposed to sign a contract, and in that contract it has elaborate responsibilities of a teacher, or elaborate responsibilities of a deputy head teacher, or elaborate responsibilities of the matron. Then secondly, when they get to work, we always have capacity building workshops. continuous training. And this, as per our work plans, we always have capacity building workshops at the beginning of the term and at the end of the term. So we have twice, or even along the way where it necessitates, we invite in some people to talk to the workers, to talk to them regarding their financial discipline, regarding their behaviors, and many other issues. Then thirdly, we always have meetings, briefings. Actually, we call them briefings, although in some cases they are chaired by the teachers themselves. And these briefings, these are weekly briefings. Mondays and Thursdays, we always have a lunch briefing that as they are having lunch, we often communicate to them, remind them of their duties, remind them of their responsibilities, responding to issues they could have raised in reports. Remember, weekly we have teachers on duty, and they always give us reports concerning their duty. Then we also get weekly reports from the matrons and the wardens. We always get weekly reports from the security. We get reports from the library, the in-charge library. We get reports from the sick bay. So it is those briefings that we respond to their challenges, we respond to their demands, we respond to their issues, and we always encourage them to air out their welfare challenges. And in these briefings, they get to learn or even get feedback from us. And thirdly, in the staff room and even school, we have the teacher's code of conduct, very clear. We have the teacher's code of conduct, how they are supposed to, that is for teachers now, for the teaching staff, how they are supposed to take themselves, how they are supposed to behave. Then finally, we always have appraisals, staff appraisals. And these ones, they feel themselves to talk about their strength and their weaknesses, and they rate themselves by that. They give themselves, we ask them to be as honest as possible, to give themselves percentages, how they rate themselves and how they can do best. So I believe with this, we are able to remind the teachers and also to educate them of their responsibilities. Maybe to take you back briefly, the reason why we have continuous capacity building workshop is that there is a lot that change. For example, the learners we handled at the beginning of this academic year are different from the learners we had before COVID. Learners who are informed, learners who have been away from home for some time, learners who are depressed. I think you understand. And even the teachers themselves, they are either, some of them are depressed, some of them had given up, some of them had lost hope. Their attitude and mindset had changed. So that is the reason why, that we continuously communicate with them. And in those communication, we do not only talk about work, but we also remind them of their health, of how good they can interact and work with others. We encourage teamwork. We know a number of things. So that is how we do in Exodus. And I feel that even other schools, this is what they should be doing, or even more, to make sure that as workers or as employees, they know their responsibilities. Then finally, in security, we have both local guards and external guards from the security agencies. Now, those ones, we usually talk to them. We call their employers. They usually talk to them. And where we feel they have not actually served us to our standards, we usually replace or ask for replacements earlier, where we feel they have failed to actually follow the set or to do what we expect of them, especially the external guards. But before we do that, we have to first call and talk to them to remind them of their roles and responsibilities. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Head Teacher. Those were very, I would say, convincing words. Let me come back to you, Flavia. Flavia, truth be told, the police has been on the spotlight regarding the issue of welfare of its junior officers. And this is common and public knowledge, okay? And that is why you see police has, find themselves at times soliciting for bribes from maybe offenders, either traffic road offenders or even criminal, or offenders. You find police being accused of soliciting bribes and, all these things. So that to me speaks to the greater challenge of welfare of these officers, that there is not so much being done to really enhance and to boost their welfare. And that is why they find themselves in compromising situations. Speak to this allegation, first of all, but also what measures are being taken to ensure that the junior officers, that the lowest ranking officer gets a decent accommodation, gets a decent meal every day, gets a decent salary, so that really at the end of the day, the force is preserved for precisely preserving law and order and not involving themselves in, things that I would find myself hard to, to say over and over again. So just speak to the issue of welfare around police, which has come out on several occasions very, very strongly.
Thank you. Thank you for this opportunity. Your question is really quite broad, whereby some even I'm not in the capacity to elaborate on them, but I'll look at it at this level as a supervisor running a station with my subordinates. So you see, it is the duty of you, the supervisor, to ensure the welfare of your personnel within your means. Because as you are aware, we have a hierarchy. So your duty as a supervisor is listen to the grievances of your personnel. If it is about accommodation, as we always have those weekly, daily briefings in form of parades or meetings. In such gatherings, you listen to them. Your duty is, since you are not the final person, you channel it to your next supervisor, and your supervisor as well does the same until that grievance reaches out to the directorate responsible. So I believe as a supervisor, I have to do what is within my means to ensure that my supervisor to ensure that my subordinates at least fit in the means of running their day-to-day activities. And also through channels like, let me say, barazas, where you are given an opportunity to speak. This time around, not as a supervisor subordinate, like you are not talking to me as if you're talking to your boss, but you are all sharing your minds. You are free to talk what offended you, and in such a sharing, it's a free sharing. So that is the time we get opportunity to know what is affecting our subordinates. In such occasions, even you can use that opportunity to invite the persons responsible to handle those situations that are beyond your means. So in so doing, you are able to meet. Either you might not meet it directly, but at least you act as a channel to meet some of these grievances that these personnel present, and also warn them that one, they are to be the first example of a law-abiding citizen. You should not look at the problem, the challenges you are going through, and then use it as an opportunity to extort the public. You are still warned against the criminal, criminal implications of any criminal act you will do, but also avenues are put in place to ensure that within the means available, the grievances of these personnels are met.
Okay, thank you very much, Flavia. I don't want to ask you questions that you said are not within your reach, but thank you for that. Let's go back to Hajara. Hajara, our topic today equally captures an area around health. Back then, when I was growing up in my school, we used to have what we used to refer to popularly as PE, which is physical education. You know, that health, yes, it is both physical and also mental. Okay. I don't know, does your school have maybe deliberate physical exercise sessions, or you simply advise your staff that, okay, you know what, staff, when you get time over the weekend, please go and do some exercise, or you set aside time maybe deliberately, and the staff of the school go meet maybe at the playing field and do PE or do exercises together, because like we all know, a healthy body is a healthy mind. Okay, so if these staff are to perform to the best of their abilities, they must be healthy in body and therefore healthy in mind. So are there some, have you adopted some of these good physical exercise practices, or you simply leave it to a given employee to deal with their physical health and, you know, and handle it at individual level, or you take institutional responsibility and institutional measures to see that you build the health capacity of your staff?
Thank you, Moses. In the first place, you know, PE was made compulsory in the lower secondary curriculum. That is for learners. So PE is a compulsory subject. Now, there is no way how you can encourage PE among the learners when the teachers are left behind. The good thing is that our staff is composed of workers of different age groups. We have the youth, we have the middle-aged, and a few who are above 40 years. First of all, we previously, not this time, we used to have jogging, which is for learners, but we always encourage these teachers to take lead. Then there was a time we could actually move out of the school following these learners, and we would encourage the teachers. Then thirdly, mostly we have, our school is so spacious that we have a basketball court, there is volleyball, there is football. These teachers every evening, that is after work, they usually go and play some football. We have some soccer fanatics, those who like soccer, that's how they call it. They go play football among themselves. They even do some basketball. I think that is part of co-curricular that helps them to be strong or to be healthy. Then others do netball, the females, and volleyball. And then when it comes, now this one is done, but basing on someone's timetable. You see some of the teachers, especially the full-time teachers, after class, they want to go to prepare, they want to be at home. But those who have some free time, usually encourage them to have some physical exercises. And then during holidays, some of them stay there and they organize, football competitions. And second term, specifically, we are going to have competition where they are going to do games, and we always arrange a competition between them and the school team or the learners. But that one, we don't force people because some of them have health issues, but those who actually want it, they always do it. But the first underlying thing is that we encourage jogging, we encourage aerobics. We always arrange aerobics, especially on Wednesdays with the learners. And this kind of helps them, although we have not made it compulsory to all learners. But I feel those few instances help them to keep fit. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Madam Hajara. Abraham, I can see you've joined us. Let me just ask you to say hello to our viewers and to introduce yourself. Just unmute your microphone, Abraham, then say hello to us.
Yeah, I'm a multimedia journalist, and at the same time, I'm also a professional accountant. I'm sorry, I had challenges of network. I had to move and look for where network is. Okay, so you can go ahead and raise the question.
Yeah, so my question to you, Mr. Abraham, is that our two panelists on the show so far seem to bear a more supervisory role at their place of work. I am not sure about the role you play at your place of work, but maybe let me just pose you a question, assuming that you are not at the supervisory level or you are not at a very senior level at your place of work. And my question to you is that, do you think that there is genuine intention to create senior-junior relationship at places of work, or do you think that most seniors actually undermine their juniors and simply get to work and issue them with orders and demand for results and demand for deliverables and don't care to build a personal relationship with their juniors? But also at times the juniors tend to have low self-esteem. They tend to fear to approach their seniors, maybe because of the circumstances at work. So I don't know which side of the coin you fall, whether you are a senior at your work or you are a junior at your workplace, but whichever side you fall, I believe you can give us your perspective in terms of this, the supervisor and the supervisee relationship, the senior and junior relationship. Do you care to build it, you as Mr. Abraham, or you leave things to nature?
Yeah, first of all, where I work, I am a junior. I'm not a supervisor. One thing which I need us to categorically understand is that when I was still at the university, one of my professors, Professor Benbera at the journalism school, told me that the day you rejoin workforce, your boss is always right. Your boss is always right. But now, as a junior and as a supervisor and the supervisor, there is one thing that has to be common and has to be understood clearly, is that your boss must understand that in order to achieve anything, in order to hit the targets, in order to do anything, you cannot do it alone. You need people to support you. You need subordinates. You need them to be in their sober minds. You need them to be in their straightforward attitude so that they can perform the way you want them to perform. Now, the moment that relationship is not clearly understood between a junior and a supervisor, that it is not a one-man's show. It is a responsibility, a collective responsibility of everybody, whether you are a sweeper, whether you are a cleaner, whether you are an accountant, whether you are a security guard, whether you are everybody has to play a role that is supposed to contribute to the well-being, to the performance, to the hitting of targets, to the excellence of that company. Now, if that relationship is not clearly understood by the supervisor, and then you, their subordinates, then there is going to be chaos. Now, I am going to speak for the juniors or the subordinates. For us, we will always have that fear in us. You know, let me give you an example. You are on the street, you have been on the street for 6 years or 5 years. God has given you a chance and you have joined the company, you have got a job. Now you come with that inferiority complex in you that I have been on the street without a job. Now this time, God has given me a little opportunity to get this job. Now let me play this inferiority conflict. Even if something is wrong, you tend to pretend that the situation is normal. You tend to behave that everything is going on well. While sometimes things are not going on well, you may even fear to approach your supervisor and tell them, please, here we are going wrong. Here the situation is not working. Here things are not working. Because you have that inferiority fear in you, that you may say something and your boss may turn against you, and the next day you are on the street again. That is one situation. The second situation is that sometimes the agendas who have inferiority complex, especially women, you find inferiority that my woman is there, he has that in fear of her. She cannot, even if she's suffering silently, she has no guts of standing in front of her male supervisor and tell her, you are wrong. Here some things are not going well. Here let us address things like this. That is the second one. Now the third one is the conditions which we are working in. I can tell you many workplace situations of work going on. You cannot even perform your duties. You cannot even move. There is no facilitation. There is nothing. Yet your boss, your supervisor, needs a lot from you. You feel you have gone to the limit. You cannot push anymore. And you think this supervisor of yours is just here. But you know, when there is that, the conditions are brought about by our workplaces. Our workplaces sometimes are horrible. I normally see policemen. I want to give you an example. Policemen really work under horrible conditions. And not because supervisors are the ones who want the situation to be like this, but because there is no facilitation. The workplace is like that. The man is sleeping in a terrible place. The man is working in an office which is terrible. The man is in a place where he has to move, he has to walk hundreds and hundreds of kilometers. He has no motorcycle to reach a place. He has nothing. So it is simply a lot which normally breaks that condition, that relationship between a supervisor and a junior, and how we can work together to make our workplaces safe. Thank you.
Wow, thank you very much, Mr. Abraham. You're brought in a very good perspective into our conversation. And I'm going to just pick from where you've stopped. And let me come to you, Madam Hajara. Madam Hajara, you've heard what Abraham has said. Abraham has said that when he was going to school, his professor advised him that your boss is always right. Madam Hajara, you are a boss at your workplace. Are you always right?
Moses. By the way, I personally, I don't like my subordinates to call me boss. A boss. I have a definition of a boss to mean something that I wouldn't like. Now, in the first place, like I've told you, that for us in school, we call ourselves a family. And actually, even our WhatsApp group, it is referred to as Exodus family, because that is our family at a workplace. All the members that are in there, we are a family. And by the way, the creators of even that group or some of these ideas are the subordinates, not us, because it would look like you are imposing something on them. Let me tell you one thing. If you want to yield or to achieve the best, it requires teamwork. And it does not require stratification. If you stratify or you create stratas, and clearly distinctive stratas, where some people are privileged and others are disgruntled or have some grievances, then you've lost it. In the first place, as we are administering or making sure that we do what we are supposed to do, we are taking ourselves as a team. And I recognize the role of the kitchen staff or the dining master. I recognize the role of security. I recognize the role of, like I said earlier. So it is not a boss, being bossy. No. Actually, like I've told you that in the first place, if you want workers to enjoy their working environment, let them bring ideas. You first build on the ideas from them. Even the briefings I told you, we don't just go and communicate and move away. No. We base on the reports made by them. We respond to the queries they have. We actually bring ideas or solutions to their fears, and then we communicate what we want them to get from us. But all this, we are doing it in line with the school policies and in line with the school's core values. So it's not a boss, it's not a show. Actually, we are supposed to have longer ears, listen to them more, because this is what is going to make them feel recognized, make them feel comfortable, and also make them feel to be part of the working place or the environment. But if you go on and inform them of what to do, let me tell you, you see teachers, generally the profession, teachers may look weak. They will not use any weapon. But if they choose to sabotage a policy, they can sabotage it religiously. They may go to class and they may not teach. So for them, they can do it psychologically. So we have to make sure that we recognize their roles. And thirdly, in whatever we are doing, we do not just talk to them. We walk the walk. Walking the walk is be exemplary. Behave, do the way you want them to do. But don't just be bossy and act differently. If it is in regard to safety, walk the walk. But this bossy thing will fail and it does not work. So the bossy idea is not there. Actually, to tell you even, whenever we are having meetings, like end of term meetings, even the board of directors attend and they first listen to their ideas, to their reports, and we respond to them, such that it is coming from them and we give them the support, not us ordering them and we sit back. No, this is not how things are supposed to be done. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. Let me come to Madam Flavia. Flavia, let's just go back to the issue of sports and the issue of health. I know for sure that Uganda Police participates in the football league of, the Uganda Premier League, if I'm to call it. I am not sure if Uganda Police participates in sports or in activities that are tailored for the women, because more often than not, at times we forget the women. So my question to you is, just for the benefit of our viewers, does Uganda Police participate in sports activities that are women related, but also still around the issue of gender, the concern of, are there specific efforts or specific policies that are put in place to safeguard and protect marginalized groups, in this case the women? Like, are there specific policies that are set aside to prevent the exploitation of women at their workplaces, but also to build their moral and self-esteem? So just speak to those two issues around women and their workplaces. So Flavia, the floor is yours.
Thank you once again. Like I told you, I'll limit the scope to my area of jurisdiction. I'm not in position to speak of some other things that I'm not in line with. But what I would like to say, to comment, is that, yes, we participate in sports activities. Like now, I remember when I was working in Makere police station, would organize matches between the police, and then the students. Medals would be put in place. Whoever would decide that would win would take up. But it was not so much more. Emphasis was not okay. Emphasis was not on what was important was building that rapport and also helping us as the police officers. You know, you can get taken up with work, so such avenues, the avenues help us to also participate in to improve on our fitness. You know, our work totally needs when you are fit, health-wise, physically, and so I think I can say we participate in those sports activities, and even the sports. There's a department of sports. Uh, I believe those can be in better position to give you the outline of how it goes, what programs are there. But us as police and the community, you man, there are those avenues we create. Even every weekend, it is a must. You have to go for fitness, road run, and it is you, the supervisor, that determines that. If you're a supervisor who is not interested in the sports, also your personnel will not be on board. But you, the supervisor, your role is to drive your personnel. One, you should also be at the forefront. You might not be that expert or like a Kiprotich, but at least you have to be an example. You lead them that first you agree either on a parade that such and such a date, it will be for physical fitness, it will be for road run, it will be for this. We shall set off from here to there. So, and you, the supervisor, you, the commander, you should be even the first on ground. By the time these other personnel come, you're already there. You are the one at the front. In even these football matches, the netball matches, you also have to be there. So it is always the commander, you the leader, that determines the morale of the rest. Then also in regard to gender, we have a women affairs department, which I believe you know. So avenues are there for women. One, it starts with you, the immediate supervisor, in case your female personnel has challenges. You have to put into, you know, women, we are unique. We have some uniquenesses in us. Yes, you can be able to work, but due to some uniquenesses, let me say you are pregnant, you've given birth. When those challenges come in, of course, given the fact that I'm also a female supervisor, those I have to advocate for it. And even if the supervisor is a male, us who are co-heading with him, with that male supervisor, we have to advocate for the rights of the women. And I think you can see even in the force, in police, you can see there are women in those decision-making areas. Women are there, and those are some of them who advocate for our rights. So women, we try as much as possible to be gender sensitive, because one, like I had mentioned, our uniquenesses. Find that you will not let a woman who is so pregnant, again, you take her to guard somewhere. A woman who has just given birth, you are assigning her to work. No, she's given her months of leave. When she comes back, still she's given some some few considerations. There are hours a woman will not be late to work because she has to go and be breastfeeding. In case of any gender sensitive challenge, it is really put into consideration. I hope I've answered your questions.
Yes, you have, Flavia. Thank you very much. Abraham, let me come back to you right away. Let's speak to the role of labor unions. We know that in the earlier years or in the earlier, decades, labor unions played a very strong role in terms of advocating for the rights and welfare of laborers, or in this case, workers. But it looks like the strength of labor unions has continuously depreciated, and therefore the price is being paid by the ordinary worker or the ordinary laborer at their workplace. For example, let's speak to the context of Uganda. We know that, yes, we have labor unions, and success like, for example, the mid-term NSSF bill that was passed, part of it is attributed to the participation and advocacy of the labor union of Uganda. So do you think that labor unions are still strong enough? Do they have the backbone to actually advocate for the rights of laborers, or just like any other institution, they are collapsing and therefore the price is being paid by our ordinary laborers? So Abraham, that's your question.
Thank you so much for that question. Now, labor unions. In Uganda, we have, there is a big challenge, by the way, as concerns the labor unions. Now, most of the people, and I think it stems from our leaders. We have over 5 members of parliament who are representing workers in parliament. We have, when you go to the district level, even now they have introduced leaders who are representing workers, the councillors in the district councils. Now, all these people, these leaders, they are not doing enough to sensitize people at workplaces so that they can be able to utilize or join labor unions, which can in turn fight for their rights. And it's very unfortunate. I'm extremely happy for the teachers, the way they organize themselves under UNATU. We have NOTU and then COSTU. Now, the challenge that we have, many of us who are working in different organizations, why we cannot be in labor unions, or why the labor unions can be formed and they succeed, is specifically because of 3 reasons. Number 1 is that, first of all, there is no minimum wage. That is point number 1. So in a country where there is no minimum wage, it becomes so difficult for people to organize themselves under labor unions, simply because each one of us negotiates his way into getting a job. And once you negotiate your way into getting a job, there is room for manipulation and exploitation. So there is no way you can organize yourself when you came under the carpet. There is no streamlined way how you came. Or even when you came, some people, you came when you are desperate. You get it? So there is no way you can reach at workplace and then start negotiating when you actually pass through Kamori, the way we call it. So in the absence of minimum wage, it's extremely very difficult for us to organize ourselves into labor unions. That is point number 1. Point number 2 is the one leadership. Our parliament are simply in parliament to negotiate for others and to negotiate for those who are organized, especially the employees are well protected under different statutes. And their salary structures are very well structured in a way that everybody joins and where he or she is going to start from. But while us in the private sector, it is a totally different way. Somebody joining to earn.
Well, let me just pick it up from there. And Madam Hajara, I want to shift the burden to you to really try to complete the point that Mr. Abraham was trying to make around labor unions. Labor unions are largely, I would say, a private sector dominated institution. So, and you're in the private sector. So maybe you could just complete the point that that Abraham was trying to make around labor unions and their role and their contribution. Do they have the strength and the backbone to actually, advocate and, push for these policies and rights of workers and things like that?
The fact that he's the one who had suggested it, it's fine, but let me maybe bring it my way. Actually, he was highlighting the challenges that makes it hard for the labor unions to actually fight for the rights of different workers or workers. And like he had said that, first of all, we have the leadership, like the members of parliament, others, and these are actually have helped the well-organized workers, especially in the public sector. Then the private sector, much as these labor unions are supposed to actually help the plight of workers to struggle for their rights, to make sure that they are not exploited. But you find that they have not really helped much. They have not helped much in the private sector, especially the education sector. I'm in a private school. Okay, I'm lucky that mine is a bit organized. We get contracts, we have contracts. The school pays NSSF. But let me tell you, Moses, there are a number of schools, private schools, very many of them, where the workers don't get even contracts. And meaning that anytime they can terminate your contract or you can go. Yesterday, I have a cousin of mine who was telling me, she's a primary school teacher. She told me they had their holidays on 31st of March, and their school told them that if they don't hear or get a call from them, then they should try elsewhere. Now, what does it mean for such a worker? This worker is living in a hopeless life. She doesn't have any hope of continuing to work. I don't know whether you see that. You are at the mercy of the employer. If the employer chooses to tell you to go away, that is what happens. So I have a feeling that these labor unions need to do much, especially in the private sector. For us, we are lucky that we have UNATU, but to some extent, we also have some issues. UNATU may not even be voicing out the challenges of teachers in private schools. During COVID, I think you saw what happened. The teachers, I think, were some of the workers that suffered most, especially those in private school. And by the way, we have seen the consequences of this. A number of teachers left teaching. A number of them went to outside countries for greener pastures. A number of them, when the term began, I have many groups in which WhatsApp groups, and you would see administrators, teachers advertising. A number of teachers left because they spent almost 2 years without getting salary in private schools. And how were they surviving? A number of them left. What did these unions do? Nothing. Actually, there was a slogan that teachers used to say, we are non-essential workers. And really, I feel, personally, I feel the labor union or the they still have a lot to do to help a number of workers, especially in the private sector. Most of these workers are at the mercy of their employers. Most of them are exploited. Most of them are paid, like what he said, what Muganzi said, that you have got a job after some time without being employed. You are at the mercy of the employer. So I feel these labor unions have a lot to do in regard to the workers' welfare, workers' rights, especially in the private sector. Thank you.
All right. All right. Thank you very much. Our time is fast spent. So we are moving towards the end of this conversation. So I just have one more question for both of you, but as you answer the question, you'll equally give us your concluding remarks and your last words on the show. So the question is around the issue of sexual harassment. How are your institutions dealing with the issue around sexual harassment? Then as you respond to that, you can give us your last words or your recommendations. How best can institutions, how best can workplaces build, a healthy but also convenient work environment that, favors both the employer and the employee. So you have 2 minutes each to respond to the issue of sexual harassment. Then also you have 1 minute to give us your concluding remarks. So that's a total of 2 minutes and a half. So I'll begin with you, Hajara. You have 2 minutes, then I'll go to Flavia. Then we shall end the conversation.
Thank you so much, Moses. If I'm to answer the question posed to me on sexual harassment, as far as I am concerned, in our administration or in our school, I have not had any complaint of sexual harassment in Exodus. I want to put it clearly out. Maybe worker-to-worker sexual harassment, it has not come out. Although we have had some cases of teachers trying to have relationships with the girl child, with the students. And this one, we are very, very, actually, we are so alert and we totally do not support it. Actually, if you get to know about that, it is one of the things that can make your contract to be revoked or to be crossed out. But we've not had any issue of sexual harassment at the workplace. Maybe the people do consent or we've not had it. So I don't want to say anything, we've not come up with it. But I feel if it came out, because that is one of the risks, we would sit and maybe talk to the parties, cancel them, and also punish those that may do it. Then finally, that minute of giving recommendations on how convenient or how can we make a convenient working environment. First of all, I have many ways, many tips, but first of all, as the administration of the school, and even actually the administration as the school directors, first of all, we need to clearly bring out the safety actually information to make sure that safety is key. Safety is above all. And this, we have already said it to our staff. And we even encourage them that where you feel, especially in executing their duties, like teachers with learners, where you feel it is going to become dangerous, please go ahead and stop. Stop where you feel it is hazardous. Secondly, we always actually get feedback from the teachers, from the workers, and we always are interested in challenges they face to make sure that they have a safe environment. Even when it comes to their places of convenience, we want them to tell us, are there leakages? Are there broken glasses? What else can we do best to improve their welfare? Then we also encourage them to tell us where they could have faced risks or they have issues or they have complaints with fellow workers, we encourage them to tell us such that we can solve such issues. We do continuous communication, and with communication, it actually bridges the gap between us and the workers. And we make safety universal. For us, we believe that the safety and health of our workers is above all. And where the worker has lost a loved one, or is sick, or has actually a challenge, financial issues, we always come out and help on humanitarian ground. We help as a family, and we also make the administration, actually it is part of them, they contribute something towards their safety. Then finally, we have a collaborative staff. We involve workers in maintaining a very strong safety culture at work. It begins from them. And when it begins from them, we walk the walk to ensure that these employees or our teachers or all our workers live or are safe at work. If you are not safe at work, it will never be pleasant. So that is what we generally do to make sure that all our workers are safe. I would like to take this opportunity to thank you, Moses. Thanks, Civic Space, for giving me this opportunity to share ideas on this forum. And I wish you the best.
All right. Thank you very much. Let's hear from Flavia. Flavia, the same procedure.
Yes. So thank you once again. In regard to sexual harassment, as I should say, years back, it was really common in very many workplaces. You would hear of such issues, even in our various areas of policing. Some of those things would come up, but I observe that it is phasing out, and I would say that sexual harassment, one of the biggest issues that was bringing it up, one, most of, especially the females, we are not empowered. You find somebody has been recruited, maybe he was a P7 leaver. One is not, that person is not so mature, he can easily be intimidated. But I thank our administration that at least they've considered recruiting highly educated people into the system. And you see, this would also go to my friend Hajara. The education system really plays a big part in empowering citizens. So you'll find that a lady who is educated is less likely to be taken advantage of by the bosses, because one, she's empowered. She knows that even if I fail out on getting this job, my brains are there. I studied, I have my papers, I can go and apply elsewhere. And also, as one of my concluding remarks, I would like to encourage the education sector, parents, and religious leaders. You know, these are people who spend most times, in fact, most of our lives, we spend it in the hands of these people, parents, religious leaders, and then the teachers. I would urge teachers, religious leaders, one, to empower children, to empower learners. Like, I think this is mainly like the role of the DOS one. You find that there are some schools, when, let me say, in my times, if you compare like a child of Lohana, a child of, let me say, a Kampala parents, and maybe a child from another school somewhere in the village, you find when these children are in one environment, you really see that one maybe of like Rohana is really, the person seems so empowered, like the person really so confident, speaks out, can confront situations. So I urge the teachers to instill that discipline in children as they grow up. You find that such children, one, they will not allowed to be stepped on. They will not be allowed to take someone to take advantage of them. And this also goes to the religious leaders. These help us to build morals. A morally brought up citizen, one, will not be a victim of sexual harassment. That will be a person, if he's at a position of a manager, he will be fighting for the betterment of his subordinates. Such a person will be someone who thinks about others, putting someone you put yourself in the shoes of someone. So I also urge our religious leaders to play their role. And I believe that these are some of the things that can help us have a healthy environment and also change the mindset of some people. You see, if a child is brought up from a family where they are dirty, health-wise, they don't mind about their safety, they don't mind about cleanliness. Such a child, even when he grows up, dirtiness is part of him. When he is employed, you find these are people littering everywhere. Let me give an example, like our brothers somewhere in this country where defecating by the roadside is normal. So you find that when someone is brought up that way, and that character is not dealt with by the parents who are bringing them up, by the teachers educating them, by the religious leaders, you'll find that that person, even when he comes at workplace, those are the people who are going to be giving hard time to the management. So I think, to conclude, I would say that role of ensuring a healthy and safe environment at workplace, it also has a big, it is also brought up by this upbringing of someone, and I would recommend that these sectors need to be brought on board in areas of our lives.
Thank you very much, Flavia. Thank you very much, Hajara, for your time. Equally, thank you very much, Abraham. We couldn't have Abraham fully because of his network issues, but I am sure that in the little time that he had with us, we learned a thing or two. We can always only promise to have him maybe some other time so that we can share his views. But otherwise, thank you very much for joining us, and to the viewers, thank you very much for sparing the time. Until next week, same time, bye-bye. Have a lovely week. Thank you.